Yesterday, I didn't work even a minute on this content AI because I had to do something else in the office. You know, my first job is the TV commercial director and promotional video producer. But sometimes in my company, I develop little apps and for iOS or macOS, internal tool or corporate tools to do something more because I'm a very genius, so I can do both of things. The TV commercial director working on videos and the software developer. We're working with a large pharmaceutical company and something like 1.5 years ago, at the beginning of 2023, the headquarters of this company that spans all around the world with tens of thousands of employees, sent a letter to all the employees. The headquarters said, you are not allowed to use any LLM external services, such as ChatGPT. This is strictly forbidden. The underlying meaning is, if we found that you used ChatGPT, we fire you and we sue you. And that's right, because pharmaceutical companies, but all companies have intellectual properties. And if you send all these informations outside to do summarization, to do tokenization, to find the most relevant tags, or just to rewrite stuff, then you're sending your personal data, the data of your customers, the data of your patients outside to train something else, to train an artificial intelligence. And so the diktat was, you're not allowed to do this. Don't do this. Don't ever do this. No, 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 no. Please stop. If we find that you use ChatGPT, we will fire you and we will shoot you in your face. And then my partner/boss talked to me and said, okay, that's the thing in 2023, but in the near future, they will use this kind of services because they are so relevant and so powerful. We have to find a way to allow them to use the large language model or something like this without sending outside their personal data. That happened 1 year ago. Some week ago, at the beginning of 2024, I received a request from another employee of my company, my small company, we are very, very few, saying that they have a knowledge base. This big client has a knowledge base, and they find difficult to navigate and find stuff in this huge knowledge base. And I said to myself, okay, that will be very interesting to take this knowledge base, composed mainly by PDF documents or PowerPoint presentations, and to find the most relevant keywords for each document, let's say 10, 20, 50 keywords, so to allow the searching for this kind of keywords and tags, not to have a summarization, but to have a tagization. But this thing should be done without using an external service such as ChatGPT, especially ChatGPT. Then I started searching for local large language model. And yesterday I found that Mistral was one of the most interesting one, because I started using it, trying to summarize and to tag some sample PDFs. It wasn't pristine, accurate and good like ChatGPT-4, but it can be comparable to something in between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 3.5, something like 2 generations from today, because I think that ChatGPT 3.5 was a generation ahead than ChatGPT 3. Was it good? Meh. Was it good enough? Maybe yes. And then I started thinking about my products, such as a transcriber or this content AI or FCP video tag. Is there a way to tag, to create information, to summarize information, starting from a huge amount of data, such as a transcription of an interview or a complete video or a PDF document, without using these external services? Because I already use OpenAI's GPT to produce metadata summarization in Italian for my podcast in Italian, and it does a quite good job. And I use GPT 3.5 because I don't want to pay so much for GPT-4, because GPT-4 Turbo is very, very, very expensive in comparison with GPT 3.5. And I don't care if OpenAI reads the things that I say, because there's no intellectual property, there's nothing very personal or private. But then I started thinking, okay, if I can do this kind of stuff for this corporate job, Can I do this summarization, tokenization locally for my documents, for my products, for my apps? And the answer is maybe, but we have to face a very important thing. Large language model, even if they're not so large sometimes, that can be large. The version of Mistral that I'm using is a file of about 60 gigabytes, and in RAM it occupies something like 14 gigabytes. It means that sometimes it crashes on my MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM because there's not enough memory. It's something that can be used as a standalone, leaving the computer alone, producing content. It can't be suitable with something like a Mac Mini with 8 gigabytes of RAM. And then there's the energy it sucks. You know, using a large language model such as ChatGPT has a strong energy footprint on this planet. They ask you for a lot of money to produce your content, to generate text stuff, because they consume a lot of energy and they have to pay this energy. All this machine learning, artificial intelligence stuff that consumes so much energy, it surely is a problem for this planet, for the environment. I think that a lot of people are underestimating this problem. I think that sometimes in the future, a lot of people in the world will sit down on a table and talk about this artificial intelligence and the energy they consume. And for what? But this is a topic so much important to be discussed by al piccolo stronzo like me. I would be interested in what do you have to say about it in the comment below, because I want comment below. But for today, that's all. I'm so tired because my son was awake this night from 2 to 4 p.m. and I'm so tired, and it's just Tuesday and this week seems so long and weekends are so stressing. I hope that this week I can finally close version 1.0 of this content AI to put into the world. It's something like a creation that goes in the world and you watch at the window how it grows and how it become adult. That's all for today. Thanks for watching me. I'm Alex Arcuglia and this is The Morning Rant, the show in which I talk about my life as a TV commercial director and software developer when I telecommute from my home to the office. Ciao.